Hey guys, I just finished watching The Mandolorian. Excellent show, and I filmed some sketches from last week or the week before that I was drawing when I was watching the show, and I thought it might be fun to go over those and talk about those just techniques and color practice and everything else. But first I wanted to let you know, just be sure and check out the Patreon link in the bottom if you like getting art in the mail, because last week I just sent out Malcolm X postcard and the mushroom postcard that I've done in the previous video. I don't know what the reward for December is going to be yet, but it's going to be fun, so I would check that out. Alright, so here we go. Let's get right into the drawing now. Let's go ahead and start sketching a couple of these guys. I'm using a mechanical pencil here. I really like the way the mechanical pencil it feels. It's just a normal 2B lead. It's nothing special. I just think it's a little bit easier to work with the sharper points, and you don't have to keep messing with regular pencil leads too much. This character is Djarin from the Mandolorian series on Disney Plus. But it could be really any Mandalorian. They all kind of have a similar helmet shape, at least as far as the sketch goes. And working on his body. I didn't actually start sketching the frame of the body, like the torso. I just went straight to the armor. I think the armor really does it in this case. And the pose that I'm going for is a little bit like leaned over to the left a little bit. So kind of working off of the rough shapes of the armor rather than the shape of the person. And that's the best thing to really do when you're going about this in your sketchbook. I think sketchbooks can be really cool when they're just like full color images and just messy as hell and just crazy, and they don't always have to be perfect anatomy, perfect features every time. It's just sketching, it's just practice. And honestly, with what I'm doing right now, you could use any paper, any kind of writing utensil. You could use the cheapest ink ballpoint pen and it would work just fine, or any pencil you find. The mechanical pencil seems to show up a little bit better when I'm filming. For the hands and for the arms, again, I'm actually just drawing the armor, so I'm going for the shapes. The armor of the palm, at least on the back of the hand there, is like a kind of a square shape. Start with that and it gives you an idea of where the fingers could be protruding out of that square shape. And he has this sash with, I don't know, extra ammo on the side of it. Everywhere where I see more shadows or more dark area, I'm just going to scribble a little bit. So I plan on going over this with markers, maybe watercolor, but probably markers. And it doesn't matter with pencil underneath, you could just draw straight over the pencil. Another cool thing about your sketchbook, it doesn't have to be perfectly framed either. You can draw the same character over and over and over again, and that way you have him down for when you do move on to the finished illustration that hopefully you do in better paper than the sketchbook. Sketchbook paper always, I don't know, it's cheap. This time I'm attempting a little bit of a top and down angle, going for more features on the helmet here. Helmet kind of has this 3D indentation on the side, which is badass looking and maybe a little challenging to draw too. And he has kind of a cape wrapped around his neck that I'm working on. Shade that out real quick. None of these marks are permanent, just kind of scratching around, trying to get a feel for the darker areas. And then after you've done the first like rundown with the pencil, then you can go over it with a little bit more pressure, and then you get these nice dark areas. So I'm sort of happy with the first two, but I'm going to attempt a third one just for fun, a little bit more of full body. Same helmet shape, get a little bit of the shoulder pad action going on here. This particular one, he not only has the sash and the rifle, but he also has the Grogu sash. Anyways, moving on to markers now, and I know this is cut a little bit, so it's not exactly real time, but I picked up these alcohol markers. They're just the cheap ones from the Hobby Lobby, I think, and to get the color exactly right, I want to actually make a little swatch on the top left. You can see on the top left of the drawing that I've taken 3 or 4 of the colors that I plan on using, and I marked them up there. I took one of the darker blues and started going straight down on the darkest shaded areas, but it wasn't quite enough for what I wanted, so that's when I pulled out the Sharpie and started drawing the shadows really defined. I took one of the lighter blues, and now I'm trying to work on this armor. This is that really shiny Beskar armor in the show. It almost has like a mirror-like reflection. So when you're thinking about colors, you don't just want to pull out the gray or the silver and try and color metal. You want to try and picture what the metal's reflecting off of. Usually it's going to show up whatever color he's nearby. In this particular case, I pulled out the blue, and it was way too stark, and I kind of regretted it at first, but that's what sketchbooks are for. So I just went full confidence into the blue, kept on going, and it actually looks kind of nice. Just really like super turquoise blue, going over the blue with a little bit of gray to kind of subdue the blue a little bit. That starts to give it this real metallic feel. Metallic feel, not metallic fuel. Although metallic fuel might be kind of cool. I'm going for the dark brown with the sash, but the same situation. I'm trying to think about where the light source is coming from. So on each of these little ammo cells, the light source is coming from the top, so I'm not coloring those. I'm leaving them white, and the white paper color will actually be the light hitting the object. I pulled out a really dark gray now, and I had to test it on the top left corner. This is a hit or miss, and I really missed, but sketchbook doesn't matter, anything goes. So just do the whole helmet and mess up and color it all dark gray. Really stark light difference here. But the cool thing about these alcohol markers is they always look wetter and more stark when you first apply them. You can see as this picture dries a little bit that it's actually going to pull some of that original blue color through this dark gray, and it's actually going to look really neat and interesting. Kind of going through the white areas with a more neutral colored gray, still leaving a little bit of white just for those glistening metal light reflections. But I think this is a really interesting technique to work through here. We're also listening to some, I don't know, royalty-free music, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of the stuff I would have put on there anyway. Alright, moving on to the second character that I drew. This one is not going to be the shiny Beskar. This is more going to be what we see in Mandolorian Season 1, when he has this old, like, rusty, dirty armor. And it's kind of brown and the paint's messed up. And That's even better, because then the markers don't even have to be in the lines. Kind of just give this real rough application of things, and it looks like it's supposed to, because it's really old and damaged, and maybe you got hit by lasers and things like that. Either way, same situation applies to what I was talking about before. I'm trying to hit the darkest areas first with this really dark brown. The ammo sash, careful to leave the metal parts exposed and come back to them with something different, or just leave them white with the paper color. Even though I was going for this kind of rustic, messed up, sketchy look, still when you're working on the shadows, it's really important to take your time to focus on the shapes of things. A lot of people start asking what is a good thing to practice, and how do you do this and how do you do that. If we could pinpoint one thing to practice, would be to start observing better. Every time you try and draw something, you really want to take very careful attention to the actual shape of it. Not just what you think it is, but really look at it and then begin to draw. Because that's really where a lot of this lifelike stuff comes into play. So apart from sketches, I've done fabric a lot better in the past, but this one I'm just going for the darkest areas, leaving that little bit of white to give it that contrasting value. The helmet on this one is still that silver color, but we're going with a really dark gray just to push out the lens of it and the three-dimensional factors of it a little bit more. I think I'm going to come back with this with a smaller ink pen to try and push out the details. These big fat markers are a little bit hard to get the details right, especially on that indentation. Uh-oh. These areas where you think you messed up, you didn't really mess up. You maybe put a line where it doesn't really belong, but I think I'm going to take a Sharpie and fix it, or take a pen and fix it, or just keep on coloring it a darker color. Move on from the helmet now, focus back on the chest armor. Kind of looks like his helmet's a little cracked there. Another cool thing you can do with these markers is really build up layers. So you can start with something dark and take a lighter color marker, and if it's an alcohol marker, it will actually lighten up where you made too dark. So you can kind of play around with it. I mean, it's not a fix all, but it actually will really help. Sharpie is actually my favorite fixing tool. When I messed up some of the helmet there, I just took the Sharpie and I'm just gonna reshape the helmet. Then I'll use a smaller micron pen and really flesh out these details. Where I took those lines a little bit too confidently with the marker there, I can go with the little micron pen and add these details over the top of them, build up these layers, and it really starts to feel like those messed up parts are actually just like scrapes and scuffs, like what originally is what I was intending. Throwing some ink on the top of these other details allows me to change them up a little bit too. I can extend the cape out a little bit, refine the belt buckle, refine some of this fabric, and just play around with it. All right, now now I've got some of these sketching basics. I think the most important thing to remember about these sketchings is, or these drawings, sketches, whatever they are, they're just practice, and you should fill up your entire page of Sketchbook with nonsense, and you should just keep on going and have fun with it. But now that I've got these done, I think I'm going to take it over to an actual real illustration that we're going to do in a time lapse. So stay tuned for that. Probably be over in the next minute or two. Here goes nothing. Alright, now that I've got that practice under my belt, I'm going to do an ink drawing, and it's going to go on Patreon as a coloring download. So you can get that going if you want. And be sure and hit the bell so you're notified for future videos. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the dislike button twice, hit all the buttons down there. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.